Welcome to the Scarlet Report. In this video, we are going to talk about our wonder kid, Kobbie Mainoo, because as I was watching Manchester United's absolute demolition of Manchester City, all I kept thinking of was make a video on Kobbie Mainoo. Without further ado, let's analyze. All right, so first let's get started by talking about Kobbie Mainoo's role in Manchester United's win against Manchester City. This win was, of course, built on defensive solidity as well as tactical discipline. And of course, Kobbie Mainoo right here has been a key factor behind the success of this approach from Michael Carrick over Pep Guardiola. So basically, Michael Carrick has picked a 4-4-2 shape in the defensive phase, basically instructing Bruno and Mbeumo to take out Rodri from the game with, of course, two banks of four that are compact, that really restrict the spaces where the Manchester City players, especially Silva and Foden, in those half spaces can operate. And this approach has been mainly successful, especially in the build-up, where Rodri could not really get involved much in the play. But of course, in the progression phase, especially here, as you see Kusanov moving more towards the right-hand side of the pitch, that's where Manchester City become quite dangerous, because then the right back, Lewis right here, as well as Silva, the right-sided number 8 or 10, whatever you want to call him, move into these half spaces, as players like Semenyo and Doku, on the other hand, you know, they kind of like stretch the pitch a little bit. This is where the danger is. And so it was really important for players like Mainoo on the left-hand side and Casemiro on the right-hand side to be absolutely on top of their game. And I'm going to show you a clip in a minute that actually just backs up what I'm saying here. But Kobbie Mainoo has been absolutely amazing, solid, a consistent defensive wall for us in this area. But what was really impressive about Kobbie Mainoo's performance is that eventually, as the ball starts shifting more towards the left-hand side, he doesn't, switch off. What he does is he understands the importance of his role in enabling Casemiro to actually perform his defensive role well. Because as the ball moves to the left, again, Dalot and Ahmad are in a tough situation, because here Manchester City can create numerical superiorities in those half spaces. So Casemiro definitely has to move, which means there's going to be a hole right here in the center of the pitch, which can be extremely dangerous with a team like Manchester City. So Kobbie Mainoo was always alert in covering these gaps behind Casemiro's blind spot. So effectively, Mainoo was kind of like a shuttle player, moving from left to right and just ensuring that there are absolutely no spaces that can be exploited by the Manchester City players. And here, of course, I do have footage to back it up. So if we look at the sequence right here, as you can see, those are the half spaces where Manchester City are at their most dangerous. But here we have Kobbie Mainoo, identifying the fact that the ball now is going to move towards the right-hand side. So he's actually shifting with the ball, acting as that protector ahead, that shield ahead of the back four. But here, as you can see, he identifies Rico Lewis, who is the right back. But of course, the right back and left back in Pep Guardiola's system, they're extremely aggressive with how they maraude into these areas right here. So he sees him, so now he sprints, he moves in with a little bit more, intensity and purpose in order to take him out. He's marking him out of the game. This enables the likes of Shaw, Bruno Fernandes, and Dorgu to press with more intensity, which means that Manchester City cannot really progress the ball and penetrate in that right-hand side the way they wish to do it. But in that same sequence, as the ball now moves towards Ake and towards the left-hand side, the same thing happens. Again, this half space right here, Casemiro obviously is going to move towards this area to perform his defensive duties. But now Kobbie Mainoo, as you can see, is moving from that left-hand side into this area right here in order to plug this space right here, which means that Nathan Ake doesn't really have much openings or any options to pass the ball. And that was pretty much the end of the Manchester City attack. And it has been the case for most of the game. That's why Manchester City looked completely toothless against Manchester United. And a lot of it is due to Kobbie Mainoo. Before the lineups were revealed, I thought that Michael Carrick might go with something a little bit more conservative. Maybe Ugarte and Casemiro in that double pivot, because he just wanted to lock things down and prevent Manchester City from scoring, basically. But Michael Carrick took the riskier option, not because of Kobbie Mainoo's ability, but because of the fact that he's been unsettled the past few months at Manchester United, the fact that he's not really up to speed, he's not really match fit, match sharp. So I thought that Michael Carrick would actually pick the safer option. But by picking Kobbie Mainoo, and Kobbie Mainoo, the way he performed his defensive duties, he has done much more than what you can expect someone like Ugarte to do in that position in this kind of game, but also without really compromising on the other technical assets that Kobbie Mainoo brings to the table. You know, his composure, his vision, his technique, his passing ability. So again, kudos to Michael Carrick for taking the risk, and of course kudos to Kobbie Mainoo for the amazing performance that he has given us. Let's talk about Ruben Amorim, not in a let's reminisce on the past kind of way, but rather in a let's learn about the past so that we can learn how to move forward more effectively in the future with the next permanent manager. Because Ruben Amorim, due to a variety of factors, some that are strictly related to him, some that are related to Ineos and the way they have communicated things to him, has chosen an approach that, in my opinion, on paper sounded good, but in theory really had very little chances of succeeding. But I also think that Ruben Amorim himself didn't really know exactly what he wanted when he got the job at Manchester United. Maybe he didn't have as much time to really think about how he would approach this amazing once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that he had. Because when Ruben Amorim came in, all we heard about was how he would choose an uncompromising approach to how he would manage Manchester United. And in theory, that sounds great, you know, especially because we've been really disappointed with what we've seen from the players in the post-Sir Alex Ferguson era, that it sounded like a breath of fresh air, what Ruben Amorim was really saying. But you have to actually be able to differentiate between areas where it's a good idea to be uncompromising and to say my way or the highway, whoever doesn't buy into my methods can get out of here, and other areas where a manager, a coach, has to be malleable and actually use the assets that he has at his disposal in the most efficient way. So there are certain areas, for example, the players being brave with you know, how they use the ball, how they pass the ball, how they ask for the ball, how they position themselves, their work rate, and how they fight for every second ball, how they track back, etc. The way they train, the way they take care of their bodies, how punctual they are to training sessions, the way they communicate with all of the different stakeholders around the club. Yes, by all means, because all of this falls under the umbrella of professionalism. However, when we are talking about systems and tactics, really the objective here is to just beat the opposition. So it's just about crafting out plans that make the most out of the players that you have in order to, in order to cause as much damage as possible in the opposition. But Ruben Amorim's approach has been a little bit weird, in my opinion, because he just came in, he said, we're going to play 3-4-3, and then the players who are going to miss out on this, then that's it, they can just leave the club, and then we're going to buy players who fit into this very narrow, vision that he had of how football should be played. But Kobbie Mainoo, I mean, let's talk about him for a minute, because he was one of the biggest losers of this Ruben Amorim approach. But Kobbie Mainoo is seen as a youngster. But even though he is young, he's actually quite experienced. A lot of people forget that he's a big game player who has been quite useful to Manchester United in many big games, as well as England. I mean, the Euros, especially that semi-final against Holland, for Manchester United in the FA Cup final against Manchester City, in the FA Cup against Liverpool, he scored a crucial goal. He scored key goals against Wolves in that 4-3 win, as well as that late-minute goal against Lyon, which Ruben Amorim has benefited from. So he's definitely a player who is not only talented, but who has also shown that he can be relied upon in the big occasions. So this kind of player, I mean, for a new incoming manager, especially a young manager like Ruben Amorim, is to actually see Kobbie Mainoo as a player to nurture, as a player to kind of build your system on, and to say, okay, I use the 3-4-3 system at Sporting, but maybe because I did not have a player of the profile of Kobbie Mainoo. If I have a player as good on the ball as Kobbie Mainoo, an academy graduate at Manchester United, why don't I tweak my system a little bit in order to make the most out of him? But what we ended up with is everybody ended up kind of losing in this Ruben Amorim approach, because Kobbie Mainoo was kicked to the bench. He would not even feature in most of the games. And Bruno Fernandes, who we know is actually much better as a free electron, as a player who is allowed the freedom to actually be a playmaker and to create things and cause as much damage to the opposition as possible, was actually restricted because he was playing in the double pivot where tactical discipline is required. Now, Bruno Fernandes is such an amazing player that even if you played him at left back, he would still give you 7.5 out of 10 performance every time he plays. But again, is that the best use of the talent that is Bruno Fernandes? So Bruno Fernandes ended up playing in a role that was not ideal to him. Kobbie Mainoo was not playing. So to me, all of this is kind of inefficient. And in my opinion, in hindsight is always 2020, of course, but Ruben Amorim should have found a way to accommodate Kobbie Mainoo into his system, because he's such an amazing player. And I think that that's something that Michael Carrick understood perfectly, because while I think that there was definitely a big tactical element behind his win against Manchester City, I think the tactics, the instructions were actually quite straightforward. But I think that a lot of the work that was done by Michael Carrick was actually motivational. I'm sure that he told the players what they wanted to hear, what they were craving to hear, which is that they are actually a very strong group of players, that they are actually good enough to be competing for the title. Maybe he put his arm around Kobbie Mainoo and he said, listen, Kobbie, just play ball. I know what you're capable of. I believe in you. Everybody at the club believes in you. Just go and play football. Okay? And the result was clear for all to see. Now, of course, I need to balance this argument out, because we need to also talk about the big elephant in the room, which is this culture of entitlement that a lot of Manchester United players have. Because Kobbie Mainoo, whether you like it or not, it's just a fact, has displayed a few symptoms of, whatchamacallit, Alejandro Garnacho-nitis, or Jadon Sancho-nitis, okay? So you get it. So that sense of entitlement. I mean, you all remember the episode with his brother with the t-shirt. There were reports, credible reports, saying that his camp were asking for a minimum of 180K per week. And I think that while this is obviously negative and definitely is unacceptable for us Manchester United fans, we also have to understand that Kobbie Mainoo is still a young player. Guys, I mean, do you remember when you were 19? How did you behave when you were 20? Okay, I remember when I was a kid growing up in Morocco, if my parents gave me pocket money, some people who I would put in a headlock, all of a sudden would become my best friends. Because, I don't know, just power, money, fame, status, exposure, for some reason changes people. And so when you are a player who's 19 or 20, who's a millionaire, who plays for Manchester United, the people around you, not all of them are going to want what's best for you, but rather everybody is going to want to get a slice of the pie. So it's very important for young players like Kobbie Mainoo to have some anchors in their entourage. Preferably their parents or trusted siblings, right? Who can keep them grounded and who can help them make decisions that are for the best interests of their own careers and for their own developments. And in this regard, I think that the club also needs to help and support the young players, mainly Kobbie Mainoo in this instance, in making those decisions and just letting him understand that he is a great player who's going to have a great future, and that future, there is no better place to accomplish it than Manchester United. Come on, guys. He's a boyhood Manchester United fan. He's one of us. He's an academy graduate, so he needs to get to the summit, get on top of the world in a Manchester United shirt. And we have to ensure that that happens. So anyway, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I know that it's a sensitive topic. Kobbie Mainoo has his fans, also has, Manchester United fans who don't really rate him or are mad at, the attitude that he's been showing. There are a lot of Manchester United fans who also think that Ruben Amorim was fired unfairly or a little bit too soon. That's not really the point of this video. The point of the video is just to, first of all, celebrate what I believe was a great performance from a young Manchester United player, but also because I think that whoever is going to be made permanent manager in the summer definitely needs to approach this Manchester United job by just looking at the resources, the players that we have, and try to squeeze as much juice out of them as possible. Anyway, guys, if you've enjoyed the video, please give it the thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Also, please subscribe. I'm on my way to 100K, guys. You've been part of the journey. If you've been watching these videos, if you've enjoyed them, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Until next time, cheers.